Alrighty, hello and welcome everybody. Give me 1 second. Get my headphones dialed in. Okay. It's still not on, but either way, thank you everyone for being here tonight. Here we go. Cardin was... Oh, I gotta adjust that too. Give me 1 second. But Cardin was essentially on time today. Anyway, Cardin, how you doing?
Good.
I'm gonna adjust the cameras a little bit.
That's actually kind of funny. Caught a little bit off guard there. I was on the other side of the door with my phone. I apologize. So, as you can see, one of the few problems with constantly trying to make things better is that everything is constantly in flux. And so this whole upgrade has been kind of crazy. I don't know if any of you guys actually podcast out there or if any of you guys do any similar media stuff, but it's pretty wild getting everything to work. But we're super proud of what we've done. And this new upgrade is actually pretty cool too, because you see how all this other stuff is fuzzy and out of focus in the background. We think that looks super, I would say dank, but I don't know if that's a YouTube no or not. But it looks super rad and we love it, and we're working hard to tune it in. But yeah, you're constantly upgrading. And the only problem with constant upgrade is you never get to be able to sit back and relax. You're always just barely ready before it starts. So anyway, yeah, we ready to roll, Cody?
Yeah, I believe so.
Boom, shotgun.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, how about, I got a better question. Will we be more ready? Which I think no, we probably won't be. Anyways,
it's like those. No, but it's like those protest posters. If not now, when?
Yeah. Oh, can you turn your monitor on?
Yeah, it's on.
All right. Get the lights down probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty bright.
Anyways, well, I guess so. Keep a second to get in. But yeah, someone said very professional drop. Hey, nowhere in the title does it say professional. We're what's like the prosumer word for that, right? We're not quite professional, but but we spend a lot of time to be non-professional, so it balances out. Either way, so one thing I thought would be interesting, and I'm gonna highlight I think a couple of things here. Really, I don't want to get too specific because I don't want to get into the absolute specifics of what kind of equates to. I don't want to say Twitter drama, but it's very interesting. Now, I guess we could. I was gonna do a little bit of like a primer on like the like what do we mean when we say Yang Gang? But I'm gonna take for granted the fact that the 50 or so of you guys in chat are pretty aware of what I refer to as Yang Gang. But obviously the Yang Gang was something that definitely were spurred on by Twitter as far as the internet. I mean, people being able to meet from across the country and across the globe was one of the things that's made politics interesting. And one of those things was the Yang Gang. We did several videos talking about some of the kind of it's funny. I'm no further away. The camera's farther away though.
Yeah.
But anyway.
No, the camera's got a wider lens.
There we go.
So now you think you're further away.
One or the other. But we've done a lot talking about the Yang Gang and how great it was some people across the internet could connect, and really how it was kind of this broad coalition of various different voters.
It's the only truly bipartisan experience I've ever had in my life.
But it wasn't bipartisan. It was to elect a Democrat for president. I think that's, again, worth noting.
Okay,
there's nothing bipartisan about electing a Democrat president. I mean, that's pretty, I would say voting for a member of a party to be named president is as partisan as it gets for the most part, really. But just let me finish. All I'm trying to get to is that that was one thing that was kind of, noted during the campaign. Andrew Yang Andrew Yang kind of never really was able to shake the fact that he had a very initial early online exposure outburst after Joe Rogan in various parts of the internet that are no-go zones, people on the internet. The 4chans of the world. But I mean, it's one of the reasons why, dude, I to this day will see stray pink hats on Twitter. And it's like, it's a year and 5 months since that first started. I mean, it's barely been that long. But it was a different time, so to speak, of the Andrew Yang campaign, right? It was the early days. Anyway, $5 super chat for Sly Cactus. Cardin in 4K is a bit too realistic.
What are you saying, dog? What are you saying?
Did you guys say KW Miller's insane tweets? If you're in Florida District 18, I'm sorry, he is running. Yeah, I mean, fortunately, a lot of people can run. No, I guess fortunately, a lot of people can run is what I meant to say. Fortunately, people can run. Unfortunately, it means sometimes certain candidates will pop up. But hey, them's the breaks. Anyway, trying to get into it here. I thought it was interesting seeing how there had always been some. I mean, if you have people that voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and still largely support Donald Trump, but would rather Andrew Yang be president, supporting Andrew Yang, and you have people who will never support Donald Trump, never supported him and think he's an awful person, supporting the same person for president, there's going to be some natural drama there, right? That you could say there's a conflict in general of ideas. They disagree. I guess you can call it a disagreement, right? Between people who support Trump and people who think he's the worst president of all time. Maybe a subtle disagreement. But again, it's something that was a point of that drove people apart. But ultimately, Andrew Yang was running for president, so who cared? They're supporting him. Now, it's been 6 months, right? Trying to think exactly when Andrew Yang announced he was spending his campaign. Around February. It's 6 months now since Andrew Yang dropped out of the race. And I've said this before, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I just mean you're definitely, people have asked, is he high profile now or was he when he was running for president? Running for president is much more high profile than philanthropist podcast host. Nothing wrong with it. Media personality, but that's just kind of who he is right now. It's kind of, I guess, in between campaigns, so to speak, or something. But in the last few months, his kind of, that's not to say Andrew Yang is doing some great things with Humanity Forward. We actually talked about it in a stream or a video, maybe even. It's one of the videos we did on the Data Dividend Project. I don't like that it's called the DDP because I only think of one DDP when I think of Data Dividend Project. But that is something he's working on, which is very cool. It's a way to get us paid for our data. I like that. And I believe just today, I didn't get a chance to read the full article, but I saw him in Business Insider talking about some of the philanthropic work. I think that's the right word. Andrew Yang has done in the past few months, specifically with COVID and relieving in people and getting kind of trying to pilot UBI. I can get into the whole Humanity Forward story there, but I digress. Anyways, though, there's obviously been less of a focal point or a pull to the quote unquote Yang Gang. I've honestly thought it kind of amazing to my point that we'd still see, a quote unquote Yang Gang. We're approaching fall of 2020 now, and Andrew Yang is not running for president anymore. We've interviewed personally multiple candidates who are running for president inspired by him. And speaking of, I want to give a brief shout out, and because I don't want to be all doom and gloom about this. There was one thing that I thought was the most important thing from Andrew Yang running and inspiring so many people to get involved in politics was to see 2020. Some people ran. Our friend Heidi Briones, David Kim's still running, I believe.
Yeah,
I don't believe he is. The vote hasn't happened yet. It's in November, but good for them. But what I'm trying to say is I always thought 2022 was probably going to be, and then 2024, where you'd really see people who would just have more time, a couple of years to put a campaign together. It's tough. Some people can do it on the fly, but it's tough. You never know. Anyway, I just want to give a quick shout out to a Miss Erica Rhodes. I believe one was her Twitter name, and then when she ran for Congress, she changed her real name because she's running for Congress. Both of which I understand, by the way. You don't want your real name on Twitter all the time until you're really going legit. But I just want to give a quick shout out to her. She's someone running for Congress, and one of the first ones I saw to announce for 2022. So kind of gave herself a couple of years of leeway there. Oh,
interesting.
Running right out here in California with us, California 30. And actually, I'll see if I can get the link. I think she has posted on YouTube right here. I'll copy it and post it. I believe this is the correct use of the term. Ironically enough, it's actually streaming right now. So I have the grist for my viewership, but if you want to go check her out, I believe she's interviewing her father right now over on YouTube. I posted the link in the description. So again, there's good things going on. There's positive things that are still happening within the Yang Gang. I don't want to make this seem like I'm just like,
so while we're talking Yang really fast, I just want to hit one of the super chats. This is a great name. Pradyumna. I'm botching it, but whatevs. Agaram asks, if Yang runs again in 2024, what will be the main lessons learned from the 2020 campaign? What do you think, Cody? You want to take that one first or what?
Well, I think one answer is obvious. Just
what?
That we'll say certain states perhaps are not as important as maybe the first 4 states to vote are not quite as important as we thought they were.
Get those ballots into Ohio, or get those those signatures into Ohio, right?
Well, no, not even Ohio. I would just say the biggest thing Andrew probably learned, just some campaigning lessons, is that how did Joe Biden win the primary? Oh, there's Joe Biden. It's hard. He's a very unique situation, former VP, right? Yeah. But it does seem to be the smarter play to just go for high-profile endorsements and try to spread out across the entire country than put so much interest onto a the first 4 early states.
Yeah, that kind of
Andrew Yang got
like...
ads running in states he never got to campaign in because he spent so much money early on. I'm not going to name the states. Every state's created equal under God, right? Every state's Uncle Sam's children. He loves us all the same. However, maybe certain states maybe not campaign as heavily, and I would say probably be the primary thing. 'Cause it's tough. Andrew Yang was not able to get any traction early on, and really, we made it more than other campaigns did, but by the time we were done counting votes in New Hampshire, it was over.
Yeah.
He wasn't running when Nevada votes were being tallied. So he wasn't even there for the South Carolina turnaround. I just want to remind people, it was in the year 2020 that people were laughing at stupid Joe Biden, who was obviously going to lose to Bernie Sanders.
Begging him to drop
Chris
out.
Matthews had to resign because he was so upset at the fact that Bernie Sanders was winning the primary. He went on a couple tirades and was forced to resign because of them. And then how dumb did he look? A few months later, Joe Biden is obviously going to walk away with it. I like how fast the narrative changed there. So I think the biggest thing there is just maybe a more big picture approach to the campaigning cycle of it. It's easy to get caught in the Twitter media cycle of day by day on the campaign trail, but clearly that isn't always the only strategy.
Well, also I think the country learned that lesson, not just Andrew Yang. The country was still definitely sold on this idea that Iowa is God, and this Iowa beast must be fed. This Iowa God must be worshipped. These Iowa delegates. Even Andrew Yang in some of his speeches bought into this idea, although he was just using humor. He definitely bought into the idea of like, who here's from Iowa? Yeah, you guys count for like 11 people, and all that really did was create, I think, an unnecessary expenditure of massive amounts of resources in Iowa that could have been put in other places. But everybody else was doing that. So that was the orthodoxy of its day. So we can't, really judge him for it. But I think a lot of campaigns learned the Iowa lesson. And with all of the massive drama about the delegates and that app that was getting hacked, or like, do you remember all of the drama with the app and the Iowa caucuses and people not knowing how to caucus? You can caucus from outside of your area. Like, there were just so many different.
That was before COVID too.
That was pre-COVID.
You know what's crazy? That was pre-COVID by like weeks. The notion that like nobody was sick with coronavirus.
Well, no, it was
February
during COVID.
Of
it was
2020.
pre-lockdown. It was
pre-lockdown. But it was before it was like a thing that it was in America.
No, but we've been talking about coronavirus since November.
But there was we weren't. Nobody in America was talking about it until late January. For the most part, I didn't hear anybody in America talk about it until the Wuhan city lockdowns. And people were like, whoa, that's crazy.
Well, you were tripping with not tripping with no luggage, but you were big time onto the coronavirus thing.
I remember. It was late in January. I remember the moment I heard coronavirus for the first time, it was when they locked down Wuhan. And I was like, what's Wuhan? Oh, it's a city in China roughly as big as Chicago. No one can leave. What? That's anyway. Hold on. Can we?
Okay.
I want. I'm
answering the question.
Okay.
So I'm answering the super chat. I think that's one lesson we learned, and also the other lesson would be keep doing what you do best. And when Andrew Yang goes, what's that phrase? When you go it alone, or when he does his thing, he does well. So if he would have kept doing his thing, which I think was the internet thing, and letting the organic press that derived from it go, I think he would have. Would continue to do well in 2024 doing that. And then also sticking to your guns. Like, if he would have just made good on his promise to like not go on MSNBC until they apologized and actually held to that, I think that would have been good as well. So anyway, that's it. Let's go to the next super chat. We got a couple of super chats here, guys. Keep them coming. Brian Nguyen says something interesting. Says, Yang lost me when he dropped out and then endorsed Biden. Ooh, there's a lot of people that feel that way. That's a Jimmy Dore quote right there. Hey, I can't wait to listen to you for the next 6 months telling us how we all need to vote for Joe Biden. That was a hilarious line from Jimmy Dore. But anyway, he says, Yang lost me when he dropped out and then endorsed Biden. I'm still butthurt. Don't know if I can get over that. Hey, there's a lot of people that feel that way. There's a lot of people that feel that way, Brian, and I understand it. I understand the frustration. A lot of people felt that way about Bernie. 4 years prior, where he had spent basically 8 months railing on Hillary Clinton as being part of the system.
He stumped for Hillary.
Yeah, and then
I'm not a big Bernie Sanders fan. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Bernie Sanders flew around the country to stump for Hillary, and then in 2020, Hillary surrogates went in the media and complained that Bernie Sanders flights cost too much money. It's like he was flying.
Yeah.
It's an aside, but yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but in the words, almost kind of like just like, yeah, welcome to politics. You'll be someone like Bernie Sanders or Andrew Yang. Pick a politician. We'll say one thing, and then, well, at the end of the day, it will happen every single time. And then a $2 super chat from my million-knitted scope said, "Yang gang baby."
Yeah.
Because I want to get back. I just wanted to get through this really quickly. The kind of what I wanted to discuss today. I just want to get through that. So, getting back to kind of where the Yang gang would be, August is the month of 2020. Now, I am in no way going to say that I'm some arbiter of Yang Gang or that I'm the most Yang Gang knowledgeable individual on Twitter. I watch it. I don't. I try to keep an eye on some stuff. You guys probably, anyone who follows me on Twitter, I don't post very often. I read more than you might think, but either way, I've just noticed over the past few weeks, really, and days, kind of as American politics has been tuning up the last few months in general, right? The kind of growing divides in the Yang gang. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about and just kind of go over some of the things. And really, I don't know. Can I just take a look at where things are today, where things could be? I personally think a lot of this stuff, I'm going to spoil it. I think a lot of this comes from the fact, he's like Andrew Yang isn't running for president anymore. So a lot of people who were kind of coming from different parts of the political spectrum were able to come together around a common goal, which I think is the coolest thing about Andrew Yang running for president. One of the reasons why I was so keen, one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure, probably have to start trying to interview more people again. Can't wait till we can travel and get people in your live again.
Yeah.
As far as people running for office, very interested again. Shout out to Erica Rhodes, I believe, for the name she's running under.
Yeah.
Again, good idea to not have your full name on Twitter if you don't have to. I
Yeah.
agree with that. But anyway, in 2022, people coming up is the idea of, okay, Andrew Yang, I figured, won't always be this kind of unifying common point, but running for office on a platform similar based or kind of the humanity force ideas, I thought that could be something to follow. Anyways, though, and it's tough. I don't want to litigate Twitter beefs and get into arguments, but Andrew Yang tweeted a few things today. And I thought it was funny because as I was getting ready to post this, from my opinion, from what I've seen, I'm just going to give you guys my opinion. It was kind of like Andrew Yang was trying to subtweet the Yang gang the last little while. It was like, hey, sometimes people should take a break and it's okay to disagree. I disagree with people all the time because there's been growing. I mean, there's definitely a large group of people within the Yang gang who said it was a mistake to ever even allow, I don't know if allow is the word, but it was a mistake to ever kind of humor the idea of Trump supporters being part of the Yang gang. So if there's that extreme as far as that should have never even happened. And then there's people who are more kind of centrist. And there's been multiple little blow-ups. Again, on Twitter, I'm not going to get too big into them. But when the whole dark horse duo thing arose with Weinstein and McRaven, trying to get McRaven and Yang to run for president, that kind of when I started noticing a real clear divide growing and what you would call, I guess, prominent Yang gang figures. Again, I'm no one to judge who or who isn't prominent Yang gang figures, but just accounts I see a lot. That continued recently. There was another incident where
what were they saying? That was racist for him not to...
Not going to get...
Okay.
Various people went to get to put together a podcast, like a podcast network, a series of podcasts. I didn't look all the way into it. I'm a little bit unknown. And then there was some more drama there as to who and who wasn't included. All the hallmarks of an online group falling apart. And then today we saw, so Andrew Yang tweeted this today, said, I have family members and friends who voted for Trump. I feel like everyone does. When you talk about millions of Americans with a broad brush, I think you lose the humanity. We all want the same things in my experience.
Oh. Oof. It's like when your dad says he's disappointed in you. You'd rather him get angry at you.
This was in response to a tweet from an individual. And full disclosure, Trumper for Yang is someone who's been in our chats. We've spoken with them, individual we are familiar with. But I wanted to go through this because this seemed kind of be today, some of this is boiling over. I thought it'd be fun to talk about. Trumper for Yang posted, this is exactly the type of blind partisanship I have spent the last 2 years trying to combat. Yang gang must not include people from other political ideologies. Andrew Yang has never shamed me for being Republican. If you want to grow, we must be empathetic and smart. And again, I'm not going to go through a bunch of Twitter arguments. But the reason I wanted to highlight this is just the fact that Andrew Yang, I'm assuming also had kind of been noticing some other stuff going on for a while and felt the need to weigh in here and lent a post. I'm sure you can find a tweet online if you want to go through the comments yourself, but pretty predictable. There is a couple different main perspectives people take on this, and they defended them accordingly. And then again, throughout the day, we saw a couple other tweets coming from Andrew Yang. This one was funny.
Well, hold on a second. I want to address the one tweet that Andrew Yang was addressing because I got some exploratory questioning here.
Okay, just I want to wrap it all up.
Okay.
We'll get to all of it. He followed up a few hours later with, again, we all need a break sometimes. Feel free to take one if you can. And he followed that up a short period later with, I disagree with my friends' politics quite often, still my friends. So.
Okay, well, go to the one above it because I have been noticing a lot of that, and I think it's worth addressing. Where,
hold on.
Yeah, where he said, what YG... Okay. You're putting your hand up, Cody. What am I doing wrong?
Well, just but without getting into the again, I don't want to just relitigate Twitter arguments on here.
No, I'm not trying to relitigate. I'm just trying to understand something here. It says, okay, what Yang needs to understand is that Yang is a Democrat. Okay, I get that. That's true. And he's always voted Democratic and wanted to help Democrats defeat Trump. Okay, I get it. If he's endorsed by a Democrat Party, he's gonna have to try and do that. And then all HF candidates are Democrats. Were all the that was the only thing I don't understand. Didn't Humanity Forward endorse the guy in Montana that we interviewed? Was he never officially endorsed by Humanity Forward?
Don't believe so, no.
Oh, that does come across as a little bit partisan.
Hey, but yes, Andrew Yang. Again, if you want, there's nothing bipartisan about running for president as a Democrat. Andrew Yang was never like, I might
Hold
not
on,
be a
Cody, you're putting words in my mouth
president.
here. No, you're not understanding what I'm saying. Is that Humanity Forward is supposedly supposed to be this thing that we can all join in on and believe, coming from multiple different backgrounds and multiple different ideologies. And I'll lose a little bit of respect for Humanity Forward as supposedly being a pro-UBI organization, which is a bipartisan idea, if they're not endorsing Republicans that espouse the idea as well. Because then you're really just a fake 501c3 that's looking to push Democrats instead of push UBI. So
maybe if you look at this window, it'll look that way. Maybe if you look over the next 2 or 3 elections, it'll look different. Who knows?
Okay, that's fine.
Again, I just don't want to I'm trying to avoid the arguments. I'm trying to talk about the fact the arguments exist instead of just relitigating them right here, right now. Because I think it's fascinating. It's really interesting. And it's tough. I could just, again, rehash arguments I've been watching people have on Twitter. I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to more get around the idea of just that it's fascinating to see. And I wonder, let me know in chat what you guys think about the idea that, it does feel like that driving force, that thing that did bring people together is, he's not running for president anymore. There's no more campaign. Now it is Biden or Trump. As someone pointed out earlier, my friend Brian earlier brought up that he's still butthurt, quotes, his words, not mine, over the fact that Yang endorsed Biden, which, there's a lot of people that were, supporting Andrew Yang because they did not want to vote for Joe Biden. That's obviously, the people were saying, look, I supported Yang, and then he endorsed Biden. I don't like Biden, so I'm not going to vote for him. And that seems a pretty valid criticism of me. I don't like that person, so I'm not going to vote for them regardless of who supported them, even if Yang said they endorsed him or not. But it's been interesting. There's been a lot of issues and a lot of argument, but it's funny. It's that, I guess my larger point, I'm not dancing around, I'm just trying to hammer it down and make sense of it more. My larger point is this. I think today, the 3rd of August, 2020, I'm really able to see how 7, 8, 9 months ago when Andrew Yang was running for president, if you really do give something that's a message people can get behind, it will bring people together and they will put their differences aside. Now, unfortunately, I think if Andrew Yang would have won, we would have seen the same thing, where there'd be probably the same people arguing about much of the same stuff. The only difference would be Andrew Yang be president. I mean, a lot of times that tends to happen, right? I believe I saw somebody forgot who tweeted it up. I thought it was interesting, where they framed it as basically whether Biden or Trump wins, they're going to be working against them for the next 4 years. They just think they'd rather work against Biden than Trump, and that's why they're voting for Biden. I mean, not everyone's voting for Biden again. He's going to be the greatest president of all time. But still, seeing how a lot of people were supporting the same candidate, pushing the same message. And now today, a few short months later, that candidate is gone. And suddenly, it's the... I don't want to say people regress to their mean. I mean, people just kind of go back to where they were before, right? People that are like, hey, maybe we can put our differences aside here. Some people are like, yeah, you know what, though? No, never mind. This is too big a deal now.
Well, yeah, I was about to say
It's a new fight now.
if
I'm on a new battle now.
No, if we're making a podcast or a live stream about is the Yang Gang basically broken up, we have to investigate exactly why. Like, what's making it deteriorate? And it's BS like this. I mean, if you're reading Permanent Future's Twitter, that's some straight up toxic crap. I'm sorry, it just is. And that needs to be called out. And I applaud Trumper for Yang doing it because I want the Yang Gang to continue. I want there to be a refuge from the storm of psychosis and hyper-partisanship. But, like, Permanent Future's Twitter here is like the epitome of that's the attitude of the gangsters of cancel culture, where it's like, look, if you don't want us to cancel you, you need to accept these facts. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. Like, to me, that's antithetical to everything that I believe the Yang Gang stood for back in the day when it was rolling. So if that's what's going to digress into, it's sad. I mean, good things can't last forever. You know what I'm saying? They can't. So who knows? Maybe this is the beginning of the end, because ultimately, I guess we are human beings that need to regress into our tribalism. Okay. But I don't know. I think it's good that Andrew Yang called it out. I agree with what Andrew Yang said, calling it out. And I think that he, though, needs to be an example. And just because he's a more quiet partisan doesn't mean he's not a partisan. And if he is no longer a candidate and is kind of just, you know, backing into his corner as a philanthropist and podcaster for a while until he runs for, who knows, like New York mayor or something like that, then fine, so be it. But you need to really choose, Andrew Yang. You need to choose. Are you going to be a bipartisan figure or are you going to be a hyper-partisan figure?
When did Andrew Yang ever say he was going to be a bipartisan figure?
I think he paints and markets himself and his ethos.
You think, or he said?
He's bragged many times about his coalition being the most bipartisan. I think he's wholeheartedly embraced this.
So you think? He never said, you think?
It'd be difficult for you to try and sell me on the idea that he has not promoted himself.
He ran as a Democrat. I don't know why. I know
well, because you have to run as something. Like, you can't be a Democrat. Okay.
Yeah, you run independent. If you always say,
yeah, but that is dead in the water. At that point, we almost think you're not serious.
I think you brought up a great point. I think is what happened. Okay. Andrew Yang is failing to live up to the ideals of everybody because he is not perfect. People, I'm saying you think about this. It's funny. To some people, it's like, man, I wish Andrew Yang would, stand up more for X. And some people are like, man, I wish Andrew Yang would stand up more for Y. And some people are like, man, I wish Andrew Yang would stand up more for Z. It's just funny. I've been seeing that for a while. And again, my personal opinion, I'm surprised to see that something like the Yang Gang lasted this long after he dropped out. I mean, it was a group of people. I mean, I wouldn't be dumbfounded if it came back if he announced he was running again. But it's just, it would be like, to explain, because it's not like a sports team, It's like, It's like if there was there was a lot of hype around ironically enough, Super Smash Brothers Brawl, which became one of the least popular, not least popular, but least liked. Anyway, okay. There was a lot of hype. People used to sit up all day waiting for them to announce character by character, right?
Okay.
And then the game came out, and then obviously those kind of, hype stuff went away because it's not there anymore. I mean, a bunch of people would get together and talk about Andrew Yang running for president and what Andrew Yang's platform stood for and everything like that, obviously I thought wouldn't continue once he was no longer running for president, but it did longer than I thought, which I was interesting. And again, I have been really interested in the idea of his platform and just general political, I think bipartisan is the word you use. I just think there is a general political...
What's the word?
Humanity for it. I don't think it's just tolerance. Andrew Yang is just like, look, I have things I'm working on. Whoever you are, if you're going to help me get these things done, that's cool. We're all Americans. We all want more or less the same thing. That thing was UBI and getting some of his stuff passed. In a way, I would say back to the, and again, we have another super chat I want to get to. Back to the earlier super chat, I think that's one lesson Yang could learn from 2024. Don't get pigeonholed as the UBI candidate. But Andrew Yang is very tolerant. Very.
You think that actually worked against him more than for him?
No, I didn't say that. I think getting pigeonholed as a UBI candidate worked against him a bit.
Okay.
Single party...
But don't you kind of need a soundbite to run and break through the noise?
Single issue candidates are looked at as gimmicks.
That's true.
They're just like, oh, that guy. You never want to be written off as that guy. Oh, it's the guy who talks about X. Because then you just... Anyway,
Okay.
Let's not get through that. I just thought it was interesting to see. And then I'm seeing how Andrew Yang thought. And Andrew Yang has occasionally waded into these Twitter battles between various Yang Gang members, I guess you could say. But it was interesting to see today again him kind of step in. Because I honestly, it's like I don't. It was always, I think someone in our chat, I apologize for not remembering your name, I just don't see it here, that described it as kind of trying to be the bridge, right? It's very difficult to be welcoming to everybody when you have two groups of people who fundamentally believe the other group of people like can't accept them. They are too X or too Y. They're too much. No, they're bad people. And Andrew Yang's trying to bring them both together, so I think it's kind of you have to be the bad guy in both encounters. You have to be the one saying, no, look, I know, come on, just hear me out. We have to come together. Both sides are saying that too. And yeah, it's funny. I see people like, it's like you can't, I guess the bridge is a great way of putting it, right? It's like you kind of have to be the bad guy both times. People are like, hey, look, you can't say that about that. You can't just say things like this. We all have to work together. But I was curious to see it last this long. Again, I have to imagine the, quote unquote, Yang Gang, so to speak, would probably dissipate as time went on, but more so just because I think it's become kind of a closer to a Twitter click than anything else, just because he's no longer running for president. It's kind of my honest assessment of what I've been seeing over the last few months. I thought it interesting to bring up. Let me know in chat if you guys been seeing, if maybe you guys, there's some stuff I've been missing, some stuff I haven't been seeing, but I've just been seeing arguments and little spats and the fact that why kind of a lot of why are they here? Why are they here? Why are they talking about this? So that's it. Not going to get into specifics. Not going to get into who said what to who and stuff like that. I just thought, worth noting today. Andrew Yang seemed, like, okay, I need to say something. I need to speak up because, again, I think he's trying to be that bridge. I want to find out who said this so I can bring it up. Anyway, super chat.
Hey, well, Cody, before you actually no, hit the super chat first. Then I got a question.
Another $5 from Pradhuma Agra, I believe. How should non-establishment candidates deal with the establishment media bias blackout? (1). And 2, can Trump be convinced to support UBI? Number 2, I have to say off the bat, maybe. Who knows? I honestly have no idea, right? Like, I think Donald Trump, he's a politician. You could probably convince a politician to support damn near anything if they thought they'd win. But number 1, I think is interesting, is Donald Trump's strategy for this. And it's a little bit different because he was a bigger name, right? But it appears that if the media will never give you favorable coverage, and it sucks, I don't know how you do this, but I do think there's some credence leaning into garnering unfavorable coverage and leaning into it and highlighting it.
Yeah.
I think that's what Trump did. Trump's strategy was, I'm going to make them talk about me and bring me on by saying things they don't like. I'm going to bait them into treating me unfairly and then point it out. So Andrew Yang, thought it was funny. A lot of people during the campaign are like, you know what? Now that I'm seeing him do it to Andrew Yang, I guess I could believe it. It's not like Donald Trump is unique. If the media doesn't like it, they did it to Bernie Sanders. Like, if the media doesn't like you, they have ways of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of, putting the finger on the scale, so to speak. And I honestly have no idea what you do to get around it. I think the Trump 2016 strategy of get negative press and lean into it is, I don't know if Andrew Yang's got the personality, like in wrestling terms, to like turn heel. I don't know if he's a personality to be like bad guy Yang who's trying to get the media to write bad things about him, but it is tough to just be a honest, decent person running for president just hoping to get a fair shot, because apparently you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. Personally, what do you think, Cardin? Personally, I don't know.
I want to answer that. How should non-establishment candidates deal with establishment media bias and blackout? I agree with you. In fact, your way of putting it into simple terms like that, I think was kind of a stroke of genius. That the way you deal with it is you have to force the interaction and then point out the bias. Okay? Andrew Yang was really good at doing the internet, but he wasn't good at calling out the media. He wouldn't call them out. He'd complain online about it, but he wouldn't say, hold on a second, this be it. Like, Trump will grab the microphone from a freaking reporter's hand if he has to. Okay? And I think, unless you're a media darling, that's almost the personality type that you need to have. I hate to say it, but it's almost like you have to be a right-wing Jim Acosta, practically, which is basically what Donald Trump is. Okay, except for Jim Acosta is actually even more rude than he is. You know what I'm saying? But so yeah, non-establishment candidates, they need to circumvent the system more. They really need to head into new media. They need to go full tilt into all the other avenues that exist. And then they need to call out the bias when they're not getting allowed the fair treatment, because I think a lot of Americans notice that media is biased. And when you're calling out media bias, they feel that you're more relevant and that you're more in the know as to what's happening.
Well, would you not say optically, if I lose and I say they're treating me unfairly, you come across as a sore loser to some people?
No, if you lose, but not during the fight.
But if you're losing. If you're losing, you're more losing.
No, until election night is over. Until election night's over, nobody views you as a loser. They just view you as a candidate.
I think, ironically, that fair or not, that seems to be a prevailing thing. If you ever, hey, the Dodgers were legitimately cheated out of a 2017 World Series title, and people still call them whiners and complainers for bringing it up. A little bit less because they were cheated, but still. I mean, it's just the thing. It's like, well, you're losing, and you're saying you're blaming something else. It sounds like you're just complaining. That is a legitimate hurdle you have to get around, right?
Okay, yeah, but like
do you see it's like, what, you're just some small guy, I never heard of you before, you're claiming the media is holding you down, you're just whining. Even if it's wrong, I mean, I feel like that's kind of just where most people will fall to, because no one has time to, figure everything out. You can't just, I mean, dude, imagine you never heard of Andrew Yang. Imagine if some guy named, I don't know, like Paul Davidson is running for president. You'd never heard of Paul Davidson before. And Paul Davidson gives a speech saying, the reason why you've never heard of me is because of the media, X, Y, and Z. Would you be like, yeah, or is it because you're Paul Davidson and no one's heard of you? That could be unfair and ignorant to say, but is unfair and ignorant a uncharitable way to describe how most Americans approach politics in 2020? You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah. So I want to address the second part of that question. Can Trump be convinced to support UBI? Oh, yeah, of course I think he could be convinced. He just needs the right enough data and the right enough people to present him the information. And that's why I think it would be much more valuable for Andrew Yang to continue as a pro-UBI player and to gain the president's ear through solid bipartisan behavior. That's what's really going to help America move forward, is working together instead of working against. And can Trump be convinced to support UBI? Yeah, we've never come closer than with these stimulus checks. Okay. And they've never been proven more effective than with Trump's stimulus. And he wants to get reelected. And what better thing to get you reelected than say, during this shutdown and a pandemic, I'm going on emergency nationalized UBI. Dude, dang. It's a pretty strong argument. And instead of just making it a socialist thing, digging deep into the economic philosophy books, figuring out what Milton Friedman was actually talking about and why it is better, and then revamping the system accordingly, yeah, I think that could be a great Republican move for the Republican president. And I'm sure he's going to have some old school boomers kicking and screaming because, maybe their corporate donors don't like it that much. But guess what? Donald Trump he cut his teeth screwing corporate donors, campaigning about draining the swamp. His candidacy was about pissing off the establishment. So yeah, is it going to surprise anybody that pisses off the establishment? No, but it'll ingrate his base. And then honestly, I think win him. Dude, imagine everybody's always chasing the black vote in America. You know what I'm saying? And they're always saying, oh, you got to get that. That's why the Dems win, this, that, Imagine if you just literally said, we can't do reparations. It's too complicated to go through that system, but we're willing to launch a pilot program of universal basic entrepreneurial income. Like, he's already done the opportunity zones. Imagine if he kind of put that on steroids and said, we're going to pilot UBI in predominantly black communities first to glean some data and, just have that be the testing proving grounds or something. Like, there's a million and one things that he could do that I think he would view as immediately beneficial. So if you're asking, could he be convinced? Yeah, I think he could be convinced. You just need the right people to try and convince him. Anyway, where's the other super chat, Cody?
I got it. Shadow Wolf, actually a question for you, Card. And he says,
okay.
Off topic. But, Hey, Cardin, as a Republican, do you feel Trump has done harm to the Republican Party, and where do they go moving forward?
In order to answer that question, I would have to know if you believe what the media says or not. Because
That's what you feel.
Yeah, no. I don't think he has. In fact, I actually think he's emboldened a lot of people to state their basic constitutional, what was considered normal 20 years ago beliefs.
But do you think? Because I think it's interesting.
No. The media was going to lambast.
Hold on. 1 second. I don't consider myself a conservative at all,
Okay.
or a Republican at all. So I don't really care about the Republican Party. But as just like outside looking in, I would say I would imagine Republicans would probably think that Donald Trump had done immeasurable damage to the Republican Party. Donald Trump's basically Bill Clinton. I don't know how basically Bill Clinton is their future. The Republican Party was. I don't know what. I don't know what actual.
Difference.
But I'm saying the Republican Party of just a few years ago. I don't know what they wanted that they're really getting under Trump.
The White House.
But I'm saying, like, policy-wise, like, how is the Republican Party more Republican and conservative today than it is 5 years ago? It isn't. It's
well, that's a different question. You're asking.
He's asking if he thought it done harm to the Republican Party. If I would just say, I'm not saying you or me, but I would say I could see.
Do you want me to answer?
I'm saying one thing. I see from the perspective of. My point is this: I can see from a hardcore conservative perspective how Donald Trump could have made the party less conservative and less Republican, and therefore could be perceived as harm. It's my only point.
I don't think Donald Trump has done more harm to the party, Cody. I think the same amount of harm that would have been done over the next 12 years from our dishonest media has just been done in what are you laughing at? You want my answer or not?
That's not my point.
You gonna moan and groan?
But no, because you're not answering my question. Yeah, that's my point.
Okay, well let me get to the sentence. End of the sentence.
So you're done bloviating now? Now's the answer.
I think he hasn't done any additional harm. All he has done is accelerated the arguments that the media would make against the Republican Party because they were never our friends.
Dude, I am not trapped by the media. I don't wake up every morning to the media shaking me and screaming in my face.
No, but I understand it's the fourth estate and it's the biggest problem with the American society right now with the media.
Does Ben Shapiro think the Republican Party is more Republican today or 5 years ago? Probably less. And I'm saying from that perspective, from the perspective of actual Republicans,
gosh, no.
I could see the point
but here's the difference.
that Trump's moved the party the wrong way.
Hold on.
It's a total aside, total separate argument. I just thought it's a little thing I brought up.
So can I answer the question now? It's like I get halfway into my sentence, and then you spend 3 sentences telling me why a half sentence is bad.
You weren't answering my question. The reason why
is I don't think, and look, I'm not even some massive Trump fan, okay? I just want to call a spade and say the situation as I see the situation is, okay? And here's the situation. The media hates us, and any kind of damage, now they just had an excuse to unleash the dogs.
That's not my point.
So I don't necessarily view that as Trump's fault.
That's not my point.
And then you ask the question, I'm addressing your second question. You say to the Ben Shapiro's of the world, view us as more Republican. No, the party was destroying itself long before Trump came around.
Okay.
Like the party was doing a great job sucking at bowing to the mob, bowing to the media, and being controlled by their donors. Far better without Trump than with him. In fact, I think they've given a little bit of a reprieve to the other Republicans out there. So now instead of being responsible for their own goof ups and mess ups in their own districts, they're just throwing the responsibility onto the whipping boy. The greatest thing that ever happened to Republicans in some of these districts was Donald Trump, because they either gave him a coattail to ride off of or a whipping boy to blame all their non-performance on. Republicans sucked on their own.
But that's not one of my point, dude. My you know what? This is not a question. This is a statement, so we can move on.
Okay.
My point was this, dude.
Okay.
Donald Trump, as the head of the Republican Party, is closer on policy to Bill Clinton and Barack Obama than what conservatives probably would like.
No, I don't think that's true. He got rid of the Johnson
It literally
Amendment.
is true. Just look at it. Look at the policy. They've done multiple studies. I don't have them on top of my head.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean, that could be true. Look, I'm not saying
Why do you think the super hardcore neocons became hardcore never-Trumpers? Part because of his attitude, but they're like looking at this guy like, this guy's not a conservative at all.
But neoconservatives...
He doesn't give us what we want.
Neocons are not conservatives. They're crappy consultants that take
understand.
$10,000 a month.
I understand. My only point was this. I literally hope I thought it was going to be short. My only point was this.
Okay.
While you said, as someone who identifies as Republican, that you don't think he's at the party, I have seen arguments made by others, and I could see the perspective that he has in some ways, and I thought it was interesting, and that was it.
I think that's just damage that was going to happen anyway, because how do we perceive the party? We perceive the party through the lens of the media, and the media hates the party, so they were never going to make us look better in the first place.
Walk that back. Who's they?
In which sentence?
I'm sorry, who's we?
We, the American people.
So the American people perceive their political parties through the media.
Well, how do we perceive anything? How do we even know what John Kasich is like
we use a brain.
in Ohio? Well, because of speeches we've seen.
You got to use your best judgment.
I've never met John Kasich in person. I've never met Donald Trump or Barack Obama or George Bush. So my schema of him is based upon a bunch of interpretations I've gotten through the media. And when they offer nothing but biased interpretations, I'm probably going to form a negative impression of the person. That's why having as honest a media and as transparent a media as we can is so morally important, because it helps us form our ideas of what is reality.
Yeah. But my question is this, dude. What's more important? You get the actual policies and platforms you want done, you get the judges you want appointed, or the media is nice to you? What's more important?
Oh, no, getting the judges you want appointed.
Okay, so why do you care about the media and if they're nice to you or not? If the cool kids say you're cool or not, who cares? From his perspective, why would he care at all what they say about him? From the perspective of the presidency and the executive branch, if they're getting the things they want done, why would they care what anyone says?
Because I think that's how you cultivate the next generation, okay, is through basic impression management and the bestowing of your values upon the next generation.
But, I mean,
isn't that just basic tribalistic leadership from before?
No, the idea before was that Americans had a shared set of American values, and then we disagreed on stuff like tax rates.
Yeah, and so we don't have that now. Now we don't have shared American values. Why? Because we've let the media distort them, attack them, malign them.
We let them, exactly. You don't listen to the media. Tell you what, you know how much better I felt since I just realized, people are just being dumb liars I don't have to listen to. Feel great. So I read stuff and I'm like, hey, that guy's just a dumb liar. I don't listen to anything they say.
Are you suggesting ignorance is bliss, Cody?
It's not ignorance. I would say it's the opposite. I would call ignorance arguing with a stranger about nothing. I'd call that ignorance.
Look, Anastasia's dad brings up a really good point and says, a wise man once said the media is the fourth branch of government. That guy's a genius. All right. I want that quote, Anastasia's dad. And then, plus, can I please get a rock on? You're going to get a rock on some point in this podcast. You're going to get a rock on some point in this podcast, my man.
1 second. Quickly, $2 super chat from my million scope. Shout out, man. He said, don't blame me. I voted for Kodos. Okay.
Wait, Kodos? Who's Kodos?
I'll be speaking of the Warcraft Kodos.
Dude.
No idea. Anyway.
By the way, I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and there was the guy he had on saying he was addicted to Warcraft 2. Was that like a super addictive game or what? Was that just his jive? I didn't have a chance to see it.
I mean, it was a very popular game. A lot of people played it.
Okay.
It was, I can get into histories of RTSs. I'm not an RTS historian, but Warcraft 2 was one of the really popular real-time strategy games. Really helped elevate the genre. Warcraft 3 is responsible for, God, you could argue there'd be no League of Legends. Riot wouldn't exist without Warcraft 3 being released. So,
really?
But yes, Warcraft 2 was very, very popular.
Okay, cool.
It helped build the foundation for what we now call Blizzard Activision, a multi-billion-dollar company, I believe.
Wow.
That controls some of the most played. Call of Duty and World of Warcraft are owned by the same company right now. And those are just two big profitable money makers with wide player bases.
Okay.
It's funny enough, it's publicly traded, I believe. You can buy and sell Activision stock. And I know a lot of gamers made money because there was rumblings for years that Blizzard was going to announce kind of they were going to re-release older versions of World of Warcraft and make them publicly available. It was a rumor for years, and it finally happened. A lot of people just bought their stock, and then once it came out and released, they went up, and then they sold, and then it went back down after the hype went away. Just a little aside.
All right. What was the one? Warcraft was based off of StarCraft, right? Or was StarCraft based off of Warcraft? Both those came out when I was in junior high.
Warcraft is based off of Warhammer, and StarCraft is based off of Warhammer 40,000 or 40K.
Oh, okay.
They're both just kind of rip-offs of existing IPs. But
Okay, cool.
they're both the same thing, both real-time strategy games. Warcraft is the bigger of the two. Warcraft's the one with the movie that makes $1 billion in China. So
Interesting. Okay. And then Cactus asked an interesting question that I would like to address. Keep the super chats coming, guys. Thank you very much. That's how we get the cool upgrades. But I will address a member in the chat. Thank you, Sly Cactus. Can I get a dad joke, by the way? Says he has an interesting question. I want to ask you this, Cody, because I've never thought about this. What would happen if the U.S. stopped printing money for a whole year? See, we're in the coin shortage right now, where they're asking us to put coins back into circulation, right? So what would happen if we didn't print money for a year? I've read several articles that a lot of retail outfits are amending their exact change requirements and the taking of their money. I mean, that would be a dream for the IRS. There would be no cash businesses where you could fudge the numbers in order to lower how much taxes you pay. Because all of us have gone to the mechanic before and been told, oh yeah, it's $1,000 repair or $750 if you pay in cash. And you know that's because that mechanic just won't report the work, pocket the cash, save on the taxes, right? And so if you didn't have that because there was far more less cash in circulation, would that then negate the advantage of paying in cash? And what industries would it affect the most? Because some industries are paid for more in cash than others. Would illegal activity go down? You know what I'm saying? What about the sex workers? We're always worried about the sex workers, right? You know what I'm saying? What about the drug dealers? Would they have to go clean?
Well, hey,
what about the what?
there is some people, probably in this chat room, that will talk your ear off about cryptocurrency for the next 5,000 hours to tell you, which in a way answers your point. Yeah, like that's why people are talking about creating non-cash-based standards. Really quickly moving forward, Adam Duffy, $2 super chat. He said, Cody, I heard the vape in my Good Mormon studio. No, man.
You got caught, bro.
Don't know what you're talking about. And then Andres Prieto, $5 super chat. Why not make humanity forward a pact to bridge the gap federally and endorse local candidates that'll vote for democracy dollars?
That's true,
to
Cody.
incentivize
This is a Mormon studio,
true
dog.
representation. But yeah, so why not make humanity forward a pact to bridge the gap federally and endorse local candidates? Honestly, my honest assessment of Humanity Forward right now is that Humanity Forward was created to be one thing, and then coronavirus hit, and it's kind of pivoted to being, they wanted to get big into COVID relief, and they did, and now they're kind of pivoting back. So I honestly think for this year, it's mostly they're looking into getting cash relief from coronavirus. That's just my honest assessment of Humanity Forward today right now, is that they sounded like listening to some podcasts Andrew Yang's had and just following it. They had some original ideas, and then COVID changed it all. And after coronavirus hit, it's moved. And that's kind of why they've gone down the way they've gone. And then quickly, too, because Carr going to get both these answers from you. No super chat, $5. Thank you very much. From Pradiona Agaram. I'm probably saying it different every single time. Maybe one time I'll get one of the words right. Anyway, so Cardin, what are your views on the Federal Reserve?
Ooh, dude. Charlatans. The beginning of the end, my friend. The end of freedom was with the Federal Reserve. And the dudes that started it are a bunch of charlatans. The passing of income tax and the shenanigans of the Federal Reserve are like, now you're going back to my Ron Paul days, baby. Now you're going back to my Ron Paul days.
I love how they still have that Ron Paul on the road from LA to Vegas. They still have a sign
that says Revolution, side, and it says
it's
the
like
Ron
Ron Paul
Records.
Revolution or something. Yeah, it's been there for a decade now, right?
Dude, yeah, I know what you're talking about. On the road between Barstow and Vegas, there's an abandoned old gas station on the backside of the. Oh yeah, that's Ron Paul Revolution sign, baby. Viva la Revolución. You know what I'm saying?
As of last month, it's still there. I can say that.
Yeah. So, Carter, what are your views on the Federal Reserve? I think there's a lot of it that's unethical. A lot of it, most of it, is unethical. You're talking to a guy, dude. I'm a fan of the gold standard. We can't do it now. Can't go back to it now. But I don't think we should have ever gotten rid of it. And money needs to have an inherent value. And I thought the gold standard was great. Now, a lot of people say like, oh, okay, with the money multiplier, you couldn't do it. Yeah, this and that. Yeah. And those are all think tank rich punks on Wall Street that have these theories that have been taught by academics who basically were paid to make up theories that justified the formation of the Federal Reserve. But it was basically just a way for the wealthy class in cahoots with the government to preserve wealth. It's pathetic. And they're evil people, and they'll pay for their sins in the afterlife. There's like an eighth ring of Dante's Inferno for those that started the freaking Federal Reserve, right? And they're right up there with the charlatans that met on Christmas Day in the 1920s in order to pass income tax, which was unconstitutional. We're so many generations away from the 1920s that we don't realize how we all got bamboozled. But the same mindset that brought income tax is the same mindset that brought us the Federal Reserve. And it's a bad, bad mindset. So yes, Cody, there it is. RoadsideAmerica.com. That's a website. What does it show? All the crazy stuff that's on the side of the road. I mean, did you like that wild sense of deduction there? But yeah, Ron Paul
reading
Revolution.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, dude, that's 200 IQ stuff.
I guess Yermo, California, in specific. Yermo, California.
Hey, by the way, here's some fun with the translation. Do you know what Yermo means? Vamos al Yermo para ver lo que está.
Hair of cat.
The hair of the cat. You're close. It literally means the wasteland.
Okay.
So whenever you're driving through that wasteland, just know that Yermo actually means the Badlands, the wasteland, or the uninhabitable area. Pretty crazy, huh?
Sounds about right, really.
Yeah, so vamos al Yermo. If you're Mexican. If you're Argentine, you say vamos al Yermo. Actually, no, you'd say Yermo because it was the first one as well. First
one time,
Y,
dude,
I apologize.
I was out in Mojave one time, and we were driving through a town. We were asking for directions. They said, oh, there's a town up there. And we asked, like, well, how will we know? And they just said they described it poorly. But I looked it up. It was known for having one of the only all-dirt high school football fields in the whole country.
All-dirt football field?
Right out here. The soil.
Oh, that's hideous.
It's like near a mine, so the soil is like you can't grow things. And they can't afford turf, so they just have a dirt football field. Yeah,
oh, dude, that's brutal. Yeah. In Yermo. Could you imagine?
Not in Yermo. I don't think it was in Yermo, but nearby, in the Mojave Desert area.
Okay, dude, that is freaking brutal, man. That is absolutely brutal. So Yorenios brings up a good point. I want to actually dovetail on our income tax thing here.
Trona is the name of the town I was thinking of.
Trona.
Trona's football field is all dirt and is known as the Pit, according to Wikipedia. The high school maintenance crew keeps the field free of stones, and they regularly drag the field to keep the surface from getting too hard. Field's watered on game day and leveled to ensure that the playing surface is safe for all participants. This is according to a New York Times article from 2002. So I have no idea what that place is like now. I just figured I might as well get it out there.
Sly Cactus came in with a solid dad joke saying the Tronavirus. Oh, Cody loved it.
I think of Troma Films.
Okay, rock on. Yarenios says, and I want to dovetail off Yarenios' comment here. Regarding taxes, how do you disincentivize people from saving all their money if you replace income tax with a VAT? First off, you don't have to worry about Americans not spending their money and saving all their money. Okay, even back before we had oppressive income taxation, when the Montgomery GI Bill was passed, people literally thought, what are we going to... They thought the home mortgage industry was going to be a temporary industry because people would then end up saving their money and then using it for the next home and so on and so forth. They literally thought that these loans they were giving GIs to buy these single-family homes after the war was going to be a 7 or 8 year industry. And then 50 years later, it's causing the collapse of 2008. 60 years later, I should say, it's causing the collapse of 2008. It had gotten so big and was the largest part, the most dependent part. It was the part upon which the vast majority of the bonds in our society depended upon. That's how big it became. Okay, so don't worry about whether or not Americans will be encouraged to spend their money, all right? We spend their money. So how do we disincentivize people from saving all their money? Yeah, because they're people, and people spend money. It's just whether or not you've got a healthy system that incentivizes savings or not, okay? And when you have hyperinflation and big inflation, you're not incentivized to save money. and says, how do you replace income tax with the VAT? Well, the VAT is a consumption-based tax, which I'm all about consumption-based taxation. Because first off, there's plenty of rich people that don't pay any kind of income taxes because they don't have traditional income. They only have capital that's gained from investments that they have. So they pay moderate capital gains taxes, but that's it. While the rest of us who are slaving away, earning wages every single day, get butchered at 27, 30% income tax, so on and so forth. So why should I be paying double a taxation rate as a rich guy just because one is income while one is capital gains? They're both money into my account. So if we have a consumption-based tax, guess what? Rich people, whether they're hiring a driver or not, they're both consuming gas and paying a petroleum tax, which is a consumption-based tax. Whether they're rich or they're not, they're both paying a water tax for the water that comes into their mansion or comes into their apartment. You know what I'm saying? Like, consumption-based taxes are the most fair, we should say, form of taxation out there, so we should incentivize them. That's why I was a big fan of replacing a lot of our taxation that we have in America with the VAT, the value-added tax, instead of income-based tax that we have here. And then Adam Duffy, this is the last super chat, right, Cody? The most recent one? Okay, cool. Says, I need Cardin to voice the sexy Spanish guy in my animated soap opera I pay in super chats. Dog, I would be honored. Because I love it when I'm flattered when artists actually, first off, don't break my heart. Don't you tease me, Adam Duffy. You better be making an animated soap opera. And if you are, I am all in. You actually have no idea. It's been a lifetime bucket list goal of mine that I want to be on a telenovela. I don't care if I'm just a guest actor that comes in for like 5 lines just to say I did it and is like, oh, Maria, ¿cómo pudiste? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if I'm just the guy that's like, Jorge, mozos, malísimo, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. I don't care what I do. I want to do that. So if I can't make it on a Telemundo, yeah, I am down with your animated soap opera. And yes, you can pay me in super chats because then Cody gets his half too. You know what I'm saying? He'll probably thank you for paying in super chats too. Well,
know? YouTube gets their quarter, more importantly.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, dude, YouTube, man. Hey, but they give us a revenue stream we wouldn't have any other way, which is kind of cool. This super chat thing was undreamt of 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But I think we didn't have super chats 10 years ago. Live streaming was barely enough bandwidth. There wasn't even broadband in 40% of homes.
I feel like in 2010, maybe you're right.
No, because YouTube was still weird and it had the 5 stars.
Well, no, I'm talking about Twitch, probably maybe 2011, 2012. I remember watching live streams probably about a decade. I mean, you're right. I'm just saying it probably was about a decade ago.
What was the first part of the sentence where you said I was right? That's the important part.
No, I would just on the piggyback. It's been like a decade to your point that I've started seeing it happen. Yeah. Goes back to maybe 2010, 2011.
Yeah. So, anyway, Adam Duffy says, I need Cardin to voice the sexy Spanish guy in my animated soap opera. I pay in super chats. Yeah. So, dude, Adam, count me in, dog. But just how are you going to do this? Are you going to send the line and then I just read it? Might confuse a lot of people. Hit us up in an email. Let us know what's actually tell me what's going on in the next super chat.
And then one more super chat right here.
Keep going.
And thank you for helping me here from do it again. Prady? Read it like Brady with a P. From Prady, $5. So my nickname is Prady. Thank you. Hope I got it right. What are your thoughts on Yang's idea of a World Data Organization, a WDO, so to speak? I'll go quickly. I probably quickly on this one. I love the idea of it. I think it's awesome. However, if it I love the idea of countries around the world getting involved on this. For example, I don't know if you guys know this. Twitter was, I think,
excluding China.
No, I think an investigation.
They lie about everything.
No, I think an investigation was launched into Twitter today officially. I think they were fined $250 million because it was found that years ago, I think in 2011, Twitter was using your phone number you gave them to sign up for an account, and they were using that for marketing purposes. Some stuff they're not supposed to do. The FCC literally just fined Twitter today. Right? I think it's definitely an issue that it's crazy to think how bad it's gotten. I think some centralized global thing would be cool. However, we've also seen time and time again that centralized global institutions tend to get corrupted and fail almost always. And my most recent memory is my largest point is I don't want to see the World Data Organization become something akin to the League of Nations, which is do nothing. and dissolve, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're seeing right now, like the WHO, we're trying to listen to them with the recent pandemic because, like, who the hell else are you going to listen to? They're supposed to be the authority, right? But
Yeah.
even WHO information has been contradictory and gone back and forth and been confusing and difficult and hard to follow, and some of it made no sense. Because it's a a multinational organization with multiple interests in it, so that's what worries me. I think at one point, yes, if we don't get a handle on this, people will start abusing data to degrees where we just
This
don't
is
know.
globalism, and Andrew Yang should eschew the idea.
Well, we have a UN.
I know, and it's a failure.
Actually, I can't stand the UN. All they do is rip on America and then ask us for money. Screw the UN. They're feckless. They're useless. And I don't want a World Data Organization. I would be a huge fan of Andrew Yang heading up an American data organization that, as a sovereign nation, exercises its sovereign right of good governance for the people, by the people, in our representative republic, our democratically elected constitutional representative republic. Yeah, I'd be a huge fan of that, but I don't want no world data organization where some ex-Interpol CIA, ex-Mossad trained by the CIA, betraying loyal to the Bulgarians while residing in Warsaw, Poland. I don't want some international man of mystery just being able to look through all of my data because he's logged into some fifth tier database in the World Data Organization. I don't want that, but I wouldn't mind having an American data organization.
Oh, it's an American. How brave to volunteer for there to be an American data organization for America. But that's my problem, dude. Like,
sovereignty, bro.
But what about the data?
Can't violate it.
What about if people start getting... We don't actually know all this stuff. Like, what if there's no oversight of how data is... There is, right? As far as there's probably some, but there's no global input as to what's done. For example, my point was India recently banned a series of apps with China because they thought China was harvesting too much data from them. But, there's no governing body. I like the idea. It makes sense. However... Global governing bodies tend to always become corrupted and ineffective just because no one oversees them.
Like, what's the EU doing? Like, honestly, what is the European Union doing?
EU's a lot different. EU's a weird thing.
How is it a lot different? It's basically a worldwide body,
global.
worldwide of the West.
Well, it's not. It's global of the not globe, I agree. But it's global of the region. It's regionally global. It's very, very globally regional.
Look, if you're in the heart of Western Europe, the EU is basically globalism.
I agree. If you're in America, the United States is basically globalism. But if you're in other parts of the world that aren't America, you wouldn't call the United States.
Cody, why you always lampooning me?
Because that's just a dumb thing to say. The European Union's global? How? It's literally the European Union. It's not even all of Europe.
Well, it's closer to globalism.
It's not even all. It's part of Europe.
Yeah, it's a bad part of Europe.
They literally keep countries that are on the European continent out.
Yeah, those chumps.
They turn countries away because it's not
elitists.
Like,
Anti-philanthropic
bastards. I'm just giving you crap. It's like, what are you talking about? Anyway, Polly M, you can check out all my other posts and have another hour show. Thanks. You guys keep it coming. Well, thank you very much,
all right,
man.
Paulie. Yeah, we'll keep it coming for you.
Hectic energy. Consumption tax is a tax on poor as riches, less propensity to spend, unless UBI or broad definition of essential.
Wait a second. The rich has less propensity to spend? No way.
Because, who buys all the Nikes? All the $400 rare limited, only 500 made. Someone buys all those. Who buys the
the only 500 made are all bought by rich people, and they all cost quadruple.
I think the point he's making here, though, it's important to keep in mind.
I don't agree with that. That's a bad soundbite.
But consumption taxes that don't
argued
account for
this
essentials.
before.
I think, you have to cover. But yeah, exactly.
No, we argued this when Andrew Yang was a young.
I agree. The VAT on Lamborghinis, the VAT on third vacation homes, the VAT on what the really rich spend will be immense. But then the question, here's the problem. It's always the question of they put more money in it, but then it's a more of a percentage burden, and then what essentials? I agree, man. If they do implement a UBI with a VAT, consumption tax based stuff, it'll be politicked and gamed and turn into a nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah.
People are gonna have to be arguing. It's gonna turn into what we saw at NCAA with athletes, where it legitimately got so absurd. It was football teams in American colleges could give their athletes bagels, but they couldn't give them I think they said a bagel with cream cheese. I don't know if it was a calorie thing, but it was they literally was while every good player was obviously being paid under the table, the schools were literally not allowed to feed the players above a certain level because of it just becomes politicized gibberish that's not meant for humans. But
Well, here's the deal. It says consumption tax is a tax on poor as rich has less propensity to spend. No, the rich have more propensity to spend. In fact, the wealthy dominate 80% of our economy. So consumption tax. Okay.
like the majority of new cars built and sold every year, I have to imagine would be bought by what you would consider the wealthier portion of Americans, right?
Well, here's the deal.
Every year,
85% of America makes makes below 45
like
grand
they
a year.
make
So it depends
brand
on
new sports cars every year. What do they do?
yeah.
With
So
them?
so
Burn them?
it says consumption tax is a tax on poor people. Well, first off, I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. Hectic energy. When I say a consumption tax, what I mean is the actual technical definition of a tax that is levied. Okay, a tax that is levied at the point that the good is consumed. So basically, if I'm going to buy a soda pop, I'm paying sales tax. That sales tax is a consumption tax. Okay, petroleum tax at the point of sale of the petrol in the pump. That's a consumption tax. So a tax that is paid as items
What's
and
the VAT
services
on
are consumed.
on private jet fuel, right?
Yeah, so it's like that's what consumption tax means, is a tax that is levied at the point of consumption. So
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Jonathan Trail brought up a point. He said a lot of luxury cars are sold to the Saudis and rich people in Dubai. Yes, a lot are exported, but I believe that that would still apply to that. For example, when I buy third-party shady video game keys off European websites, I pay a VAT.
and also I looked up that Super 8
So,
scanner
that
that we're
stuff
having for our
exists.
movie channel
From
that's being
Germany?
bought
Is
from
there a
Germany.
VAT?
Yeah, it said the VAT is already applied. Yeah. You know, so it's like even on exports, you're still paying the VAT because they want to be able to collect their portion of the VAT that they've paid all the way leading up into the manufacture of the
But
good.
how about this, though? I think an interesting point here, and we'll
Okay.
kind of wrap up with this discussion on this, but I think an interesting idea. And then we think about this. I think, obviously, saying a consumption-based tax will always do X, right? Whatever. But I definitely think a tax on consumption-based tax, particularly weighted towards non-essential goods, in a consumerist capitalist country like America makes a lot of sense. It would probably, I imagine, would be a higher burden on wealthier people than lower. That's my guess. Yeah, in a country that was not as hyper consumer focused, that wasn't trying to sell you a brand new $1,000 phone every year or so, right? Like,
Yeah.
I agree, yes, but dude, there's so many people who spend all day, every day extracting wealth from rich people, and they do a pretty good job of it. You know, whether it's these ridiculous like super hi-fi headphones that cost $5,000, whatever it is, right? Like in America, we are such a, and then I'm talking about headphones, real rich people, stuff they buy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you're building a hotel. You buy things to build a hotel. You buy seats for chairs people to sit in. You buy TVs. You buy wood to make desks. But you buy all this stuff, and you're just getting taxed on it.
Yeah.
So I think, in a different culture with a different kind of set of, if we were a culture that was very much about like building what you can with your hands and saving your wealth, then I would agree consumption tax would be different. But we're in a culture where it's like buy your second yacht because you're super rich, or even better, be up to your ears in debt just so you can own or lease cool things. I think then it would be different. But that's just my, humble opinion.
Yeah. So then Prodi, our friend Prodi, says, thank you very much for the super chat, Prodi. Yang also talked about issues regarding boys and young men. Yes, I agree. In fact, to a certain extent, I think that's why he was lampooned as having like, white supremacist following and, 4chan people. And because, heaven forbid, a bunch of kids from the Midwest who are used to being completely forgotten and maligned because, they're just part of the problem. They're white males who actually have real problems, like coming from impoverished families where they don't have privilege, like coming from impoverished communities that have resorted to a painkiller abuse and methamphetamine abuse that's hitting them just as hard as cocaine hit the black community in the 80s and 90s. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that he actually just came out and said, look, there's a whole the demons of death, disease, poverty don't only strike in one place. They strike all demographics. And we need to all love each other and help all demographics. And the fact that he actually did reference, as a Democrat, what some have called the war on boys, and there's been books actually written on it, which is, and academically, boys are lagging really super behind. Okay, they're not advantaged in an educational system, and it's been that way for 10 years, but it's been the dark secret that you're not allowed to talk about because it's politically incorrect, because we're all supposed to believe that girls are disadvantaged, when in reality, statistically, it shows that boys are wildly disadvantaged, and the pendulum has swung against them instead of for them, all right? So that was actually a huge boon to him in the beginning, because, you know, a lot of people, I think, started saying, wow, he actually does care, because he's noticing problems that I've noticed in my family. There was a lot of women that I spoke to that were mothers. I was able to talk to actually some young mothers in the Yang Gang when the Yang Gang was super young. And this, Cody, I don't know if you remember these few interviews we had in the first rallies, but one of the women that I interviewed said, I chose Andrew Yang because of what he said about my son. You know what I'm saying? My son's
cool.
13
Very
and is
cool.
going through all these problems that Andrew Yang said early on. This was like within a month of the Joe Rogan interview. This is early on in the Yang Gang history. So, Parati says, Yang also talked about issues regarding boys and young men. Yes, he did. Example, Warren Farrell interview. Okay. Why don't more politicians do so as well? Yeah, because I think Andrew Yang was a legit guy. And politicians are crappy. They stick fingers in the wind and they wait to see what blows, which way it blows, and they just talk about that issue. I mean, look at Joe Biden. Look at the speeches he was making in the 70s. You know, we're lambasting Don Lemon now for his pseudo-conservative takes 5 years ago. Man, you should hear the stuff Joe Biden was saying 30 years ago. He's like a neocon on steroids back then. Andrew Yang, I actually think, legitimately cared. And that came across very authentically. People sensed it, and that was a lot of his draw, was people thought they actually cared. So I think you can really tell good politicians from bad ones by the issues they do talk about, and that's what I appreciate about Andrew Yang. I can't tell you why more don't do it, but I can tell you that I appreciated he did. So we're actually going to have to wrap up here pretty soon. If you got any last super chats, make sure you get them out of your system. We're getting Brittany the Shadows cam next. Me and Cody have upgraded to our hip wireless system, but we got to make sure that Brittany the Shadow can come back and join us in her hot seat over there in the middle with the third cam. So all of your super chats, Armando appreciated. Oh, one more super chat from Adam Duffy says, hey guys, Adam here. This is your regularly scheduled super chat telling all 129 of you here to drop a like on the stream. Rock on, Adam Duffy. That is awesome. And yes, I totally forgot. There's actually 137 of us right now. So everybody, please, before we shut her down, you guys got to make sure that we smash that like button. Don't forget. Please
always feel free to dislike the video if you disagree with anything we said.
Yeah, I'm less a fan of that part of the that part of the equation.
If anything,
but what if we get a thumbs down, Cody? Look, if somebody thumbs down that I don't know, I'm afraid that there's these 3 people in cyberspace that don't like me.
If you heard one sentence you disagree with on this live stream, please give us a thumbs down.
Okay, cool.
If you heard
sweet.
one word, please feel free.
You know, kudos to Yadenios that says disagree with at least one statement every live stream. Never fail to leave a like, though. You know, I dig that. And whoever you are, Yadenios, I want you to freaking join our channel, because that's a good attitude.
He's already here.
That's a super. Are they a member? Yadenios?
No, but he's here. He's watching.
Oh yeah, that's true. Become a member, dog, or dogette. I don't know. What's the term for? Oh, I can't say female dog because that's a bad word.
That actually is a really funny question.
Yeah,
what is the term for female dog?
What is the term for female dog?
We'll wrap up. I guess we'll
on that note.
Moving on. $5 in Polyamity said, just watch Joe Rogan's podcast with Andrew Yang. That's all you need to do. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that his first, the only podcast Yang did with Joe Rogan, that really was what started everything with me. I mean, that was the only reason why I started following him at all, was because I loved what he said so much. And I do want to remind people of something. And it's, I believe, the day after he appeared on Joe Rogan, he actually appeared on Tucker Carlson. And I remember one of the other things, because I happened to be working somewhere and Fox News was on TV and it was subtitled. I couldn't hear it, but it was subtitled. I can read it. And I thought it was interesting because I remember watching Andrew Yang and Joe Rogan being like, wow, he brought up great points about like life expectancy and the fact that our economy should be, the country should be better ran for people to enjoy living in it, right? But that was interesting where Tucker Carlson at one point said like, wow, I seriously cannot tell you how much I agree with everything you're saying right now, like so much. He agreed so completely with him. And that's when I was like, wow, he can really just, Yang has a platform that can win people over. So I guess to bring it back to our point, right? Will the Yang Gang make it to 2024? I think yes and no. My definition of it was this. The day Andrew Yang announced he was dropping out, the movement to get Andrew Yang elected ended because he's no longer running, right? But it doesn't mean he has to be gone forever. And I do think if he does announce he's running, or maybe we'll see, like I said, I pointed out with Erica Rhodes, who I don't know if she's still live streaming, but running for Congress, right? I mean, like more people. We have David Kim running this year. You know, our friend Heidi Briones ran earlier before. I mean, like, there's a lot of people involved in this moving forward. And I think that will keep going. I mean, the group of people that got politically activated and motivated to meet in certain communities online because of Andrew Yang, that's not going to go away, right? But I think the focus of Andrew Yang on it probably will wane just because, like you said, he's not running for president anymore. Other people are. There's other things going on. But yeah, I do think that group will kind of stay active, and then once a couple of these people start popping up again, we'll start seeing people running for office. And if Andrew Yang makes any announcement, for example, if Andrew Yang announces he's running for mayor of New York City tomorrow, it can all change, right? But
yeah, I hear you. So anyway, this has been awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you for all the super chats, much appreciated. Shout out to everybody who participated today. Make sure you hit the like button. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you in the next video.
An interesting little side note.